Hello and welcome to TFT European Regional Finals Day 1, Game number 2.
Much popularity in the last patch especially, and also Shioyu Siphon. We saw all the players that were leaning into AD go the warrior route instead with Yone and Olaf. Some Shioyu was played in the Dragon's Ward, of course, but not the traditional vertical Jade and the pairing of Whispers with Jade that we've seen all throughout many patches. But looking right here, that's a Rengar on stage 1. This is the same with Olaf. These are 2 3-cost premier carries that give you immediate and very clear and safe direction. And they're just so powerful in stage 1 as well. For Olaf's reason, not because of his strength, but more because of what you're able to get from him later into the game. You're able to stack that AD early on. But with Rengar, it is immediate power. This is just a machine of killing poor, measly 1-cost or 1-star units that don't have any armor, that don't have any HP, and Rengar just bursts you down into the Shadow Realm.
Won't someone think of the backliners, right? That's a good old classic situation going on here. Unit also has the option of picking up the Yone. We are still waiting confirmation for what the Mirage is going to be, but that's the one that's enticing right now. But a 2-star Sejuani is never really a bad pickup in the early game.
Yeah, you're able to pair that perfectly with a Rel if you're able to get that. If you're able to be so lucky to get that set up online, especially looking forward to the augment here for Unid. If he's able to find something that gives him a Darkflight Essence, this is going to be, oh my god, it's 2 Rengars. This is almost a bad thing because you're going to have to hold that Rengar pair and come on, let's be honest, you're not going to find that Rengar 2 until much later. But we do find a Darkflight Heart. It's not quite the chance to have an Essence online, but still is something that you can lean into for this comp, as well as the Thrill of the Hunt. It's able to allow Rengar to reset off of a kill, allow him to stay alive for longer, and just be a menace on the board. But it will be a Darkflight Heart that is picked up here. It will be the Aphelios to get Darkflight online with the Rengar coming in. And just a very strong start in terms of tempo, in terms of board presence.
Yeah, I feel like I'm interested to see whether or not that they're going to be selling here to try to make the econ, because I think that is going to be the big thing, right? So you can sell up if you want to. Because again, we're talking about this holding a Rengar pair, it's pretty expensive, right? It costs a lot of gold because that's 6 gold that could have been put into economy instead, but it also does give you a lot of direction. It's just gonna level instead and not gonna go and make 10 here, trying to play for the maximum amount of tempo. And again, I like the fact that the Aphelios has been brought in here with the Cannoneer, because playing a single copy of Aphelios here is probably better than double Rengar.
And we do have also the items putting in this direction as well. So everything is lining up for Unid after that bad or pretty disappointing game 1. I think for his standards, especially someone that was at Worlds last set, has to find a way to turn it around. And this might be the way to do it with Darkflight. Not incredibly strong yet, but the direction is very clear. Has that sword that will be an IE eventually, and also has that bow for the Runan. So very, very clear setup here from Unid. And anyone that's scouting is already thinking, can I really play an Ezreal carry throughout stages 2 and 3 with a Rengar player online? Maybe not. You know, there's some comps that are now going to have really bad matchups into this Darkflight comp, and you have to consider not even trying to go for them altogether.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Rengar comp, right? You're sitting on an Aphelios pair. This could very easily just be a Seek Slam. Those options are still true. Doesn't seem to be the lack here. I think that if you just have the Dot Rengar pair, you are just going to aim for that instead. Again, it's still in a bit of a wishy-washy spot. We haven't really been able to fully explore whether or not the Cannoneer angle is stronger. Again, maybe that's something that's going to pop up for day 2 or day 3, or even LCQ and Championship that are going to be played on this patch as well here. Something else I want to touch on was that we did see Metal of the Volta has gone for the blue battery, and we did see that he did have that early Kai'Sa as well.
Yeah, look at the augments, Guardian Heart as well popping up. Once again, something that's not surprising, as Guardians got a big buff recently, and they are currently in a very good spot in the meta all throughout stages 2, 3, but also in the endgame stages we saw in the game 1 of this tournament. Tiny Titans for Crescent, able to get that HP buffer, able to go on a loss streak for much longer and use that HP as a resource to put yourself into a spot where you have good econ, you can go that fast 8, fast 9, as long as your second augment maybe also puts you in a direction where you can greed for longer. But along the other way, we have Kenobi with Band of Thieves, we have Thrill of the Hunt for Ging. So most players do have combat augments, and it really is only Crescent that has that greedier, essentially econ augment. But Executioner's Edge, once again, Wida.
Okay, so I want to talk about Raiko's board here just for a second, right? Cybernetic Uplink plus a Rage Blade on this Kai'Sa is going to mean a lot of cast. We can already see here now he's 2 fights in, has 21 stacks already, has gotten that initial 2 gold boost. So he has the options here now. If he wins, he can sell the set on the right, make 10. He would also potentially go for the pre-level. Pushing early levels with Lagoons tend to be quite good because you can just, play more Lagoon units. Even if you have 4 in, you're still going to get the extra casts.
And Matelas has a similar setup, has a Morello already built in. Could be a Psalm game, something we didn't see last game yet. Also could be a Lagoon Shimmer Scale, a Forbidden Econ tech. The mix-up, it's just the perfect combination of both Lagoon and Shimmer.
Yeah, but if you look at the bench for Meddler, right? You're seeing a Karma pair being held on to, you're seeing a Nasus pair being held on to. So I don't necessarily think that the Zone vertical is going to be explored here. I do think it's just going to be that traditional Dragonmancer reroll. And again, if the Shimmer Scale item is going to be Goldmancer's staff, we're going to be seeing a lot of gold being printed out of nowhere.
Gang on Thrill of the Hunt, also on Lagoon. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Is it possible that Lagoon is a very strong early game trait that gives you econ and allows you to reach those very expensive boards that are very good in this meta?
Oh,
no, don't tell me so.
Oh, you're a silly goose. Nah. I want to touch on something here, right? With Ging going for the Thrill of the Hunt, it's pretty significant and pretty textbook Ging to go for pretty strong, flexible augments that are just just produce a lot of combat power. He doesn't want to be like, let's say, Ball, where like you can get like big flashy econ augments and have like magnificent roll downs. That's not necessarily what is going to be the case. Ging does have that in his locker, but does prefer to play the higher tempo and much more combat oriented style of TFT.
And Lelouch happy to play greedy once again. Didn't quite work out in game one, but this is a player that has played a whole lot of games in this set. This is a player that has found success playing a lot of games, has learned a lot throughout the entirety of this set, and I think he knows what the limits are in terms of how much can I greed, how much can I play for econ, and how good are the boards that I can reach if I sacrifice HP in the early game. And once again, playing a similar style we saw in many GSCs, some players just said, hey, I'm going to lose streak all throughout, and this is my playstyle. We saw Broyson do it, and this is maybe Lelouch's angle for this tournament, playing a greedy playstyle, trying to get enough gold to reach those very high cap boards.
And it is going to be needlessly big gem. And this is the first time we see that I got it correct. I just want to pat myself on the back, didn't call it needlessly large gem, which is one of the better options here. But this fight might be too explosive, or just about gets the gold here. And that's going to be so important because these boards are so strong. Gem can really help you accelerate your goal, because chances are, if you are getting a lot of gold with Gem, you don't have to roll to get that, which means you just might get the extra gold from the Ascension style effect.
And Raiko had an early win streak, but gets cut short before he's able to get to Krug. So unfortunate, of course, in TFT, getting those long win streaks, especially going into PV rounds where you're kind of doubling up on that bonus, is so important. Darkest, well, I think a pattern is starting to emerge. Able to win streak into Krug's last game. Sure, the caster curse just came in. I'm sorry, Darkest. Please don't lose this next round.
Watch him just like push level 6 here just to be like, I can't lose.
I got you, Panda.
David put all his fate in me. I need to level. But now again, 4 Guardians, we're talking about it, as again with the Lagoon here, so it does have that additional like extra gold coming through, but it's not even necessarily the gold coming through, right? It's also just about the extra utility from like Remover, Reforger. We saw what it almost was in the previous game from Uni, right? He was able to, almost get himself out of the hole. Had it been any other fight, potentially he would have been in it.
Uh-oh, Rengar's coming. The Zeeks have been built. The Talia is being hounded on, as well as the Seraphine. Only the tanks will remain here. The Guardian Heart is great. 4 Guardians is massive, but when your backline is already killed this early on, it might not be enough. That being said, the shielding is coming in clutch here. The Rengars are stuck on the recently buffed Zac. Not so much, though. Nasus now with a Fury of the Dawn, trying to get bigger, trying to keep stalling. Leona, the Solar Barrier, doing the same, getting a little bit more shielding online for these Guardians. The Rengars are not quite going to be able to do it. One being taken down, the last one left alive. The battle of Nasus and Rengar. Rengar is starting to slash away, and he is going to be able to win it. Ends the streak for Darkest, which is bad news for this player, but good news for everyone else.
I mean, that's just an Idus chilling. Also with Nasus too.
I'll take this exchange. You'll lose that that last fight before the Krugs, but you're able to get a fantastic Guardian in exchange. Already an Idus online, especially with the needlessly big gem, with 4 Guardian. That's going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely is going to be harder to deal with. I think that Idus as a unit in general is a unit that, for a long time at the start of this set, was kind of not really in a good spot. Not so much because of the power level of the unit, but more so just due to the fact that the fights were just too explosive. We had launch Dark Flights, which either Rengar or Aphelios just blew up your backline, and Idus was just kind of just chilling there like, where are my friends? Right? That kind of happened for a while, but like fights have gotten much more front to back now, and in those types of metas, Idus is just such a strong unit.
30 gold has been reached by Darkest. able to continue econing up. After that loss came in the last fight of Stage 2, I think it's not so appealing to go level 6 here, especially with the gold you have right now for Darkus. I think if the win streak was still going, maybe you say, hey, I'm trying to fight to keep this win streak alive. I want to go level 6 before we get to 3-2, but in this case, maybe not so much.
Needles a big jump. Level 6, extra unit, and extra units which potentially get the trigger. That is probably the reason why I would assume, right? Because sure, you might not necessarily even win with this board, but just the additional gold you can get for these long, drawn-out fights with the Guardians in play here. And Uni is on 6 Darkflight.
6 Darkflight, Swain already online, but you're facing off against so many players that will be econing up to crazy comps later on. We're seeing Shimmer Skill and Lagoon being played on almost every board. And Rengar is a great comp, but it's a comp that is a tempo comp. It's going to be doing very well in stages 2 and 3 and maybe the start of stage 4. But once players are able to get their comps online with all the gold they're generating, it's going to be hard for Rengar to do much unless you're able to hit that Rengar 3 pretty early on.
Yeah, and it's kind of akin to your favorite comp from Gizmos and Gadgets and the talent setup, right? Where this comp does spike slightly later, but it's the kind of the same concept where it's very much about the tempo and have... there are some ways that you can kind of help, prolong the fight. You can... Like Yasuo, for example, pairs incredibly well with the Swain because he's longer drawn-out fights. But another Silver, so very nice little baseline situation here, is not going to pick the Future Sight, which is actually apparently on like 4-2. I was looking at stats yesterday, have really good stats, even though people don't really tend to like it. But it's going to go for Celestial Blessing.
Lelouch finds the Yone 2, finds the Jax 2 as well. Lelouch sitting at 50 HP, but I think he has found the way to stabilize Jax, one of the best 2-cost carries in the game, especially at this point in the game, of course, as well. And Yone, one of the best 2-cost damage carries as well. So great setup for Lelouch there, hoping to stabilize at 50 HP. But for Raiko as well, still has that Lagoon set up, still has a Rage Blade on the Morello built as well onto this Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and again, it's worth noting that he is going to be able to gain access to a remover, so even if he was like slamming something random on that Kai'Sa right now, can just clean up later down the road, if he is going to be choosing to carry that as his primary unit. Lelouch, well, he's saying the Warrior Heart has that RFC Rage Blade Yone here, so again, it's not going to be the Swift Shot emblem version, but it's just going to be a pretty attack speed heavy one.
Yone might be in trouble though. The Rengar jumps on. The change in the attack there from the Yone, but not quite enough to take down Rengar. And now Swain should be able to stall out enough for this Rengar to do his damage while really no one is touching him. No one is trying to take down this little bit of health that is left on the Rengar. And the Sylas ult might be relevant, but Aphelios still left alive. Swain still healing. Swain, at this point in the game, with the amount of healing he does, there's just not quite enough damage to take him down. There's not enough burst, which is why Swain is so strong to get this early in stage 3.
Yeah, people might not have their Sunfire capes yet, Morellos, etc. Not going to be the case. Not a lot of people have a Pantheon either. 5 mage here being available now for Madeline. Again, has that blue battery, has that mage heart. And this could be another game of him just running it back potentially. Has 5 mage even with the items being currently held by a Kai'Sa. And with no Astral really active right now. Again, this could be the Lux carry. This also could just be a different game. We'll see where he ends up at. Because again, it could just be one of those AP mid-game boards into Ace Hole.
Exactly. You just try and do what you can, have a strong front line, have a strong back line, a good carry that can utilize these AP items well, like Kai'Sa is in this current context in this meta. And then if you're able to do it well enough, you're able to stay strong and stable throughout stages 3 and 4, you're able to, go right into that level 9 and have those dragons come online and really take care of the rest.
Absolutely here. Again, Ging's board again is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Does have that slammed and created. He's given up 2 item components to make a Shimmer Skull emblem as well. Just like it's something that's worth keeping an eye out for here. Again, I think it's a trade-off that is worth making, especially in a needed big gem lobby, because it gives you a lot of combat power, but it also gives you a lot of gold.
And the Zeri carry, I just love to say this, so I'm happy that she's itemizing this point, is more, I think, stronger than a lot of players give her credit for. I think she's been obviously the secondary or tertiary or even not even in the top 3 for most comps in terms of itemizing. Obviously, in the comp with Seraphine, you're able to give her just the aura items like the Zeeks. But I think after, the 3 patches she got buffs in a row, she is viable as a mid-game carry. Not obviously optimal, but still a possibility.
Yeah, Ging is going to pick up that belt. Does have a sword open according to the components by BlitzCG. Meanwhile, we do see Lelouch at 40 HP here. The reroll aspect of the Yone has not really been, to his liking so far, but that's a bow. He does have a spat. Those 2 combined could be a Swift Shot emblem. So it could be Swift Shot emblem, RFC, and Rage Blade. It is going to be a lot of attack speed, and with the Executioner's Barrage you were talking about, the sooner you get to them, the more of those executing attacks you get off, the better.
You ask and you shall receive. We were talking about Swift Shot Emblem, a very, very important transformative emblem in this current meta, both on Yone and on Olaf sometimes as well. And right away, Lelouch is able to give it to us, give us what we wanted to see and how this will perform. That being said, 40 HP is a dangerous spot to be in, especially when you're not really going for that huge level 7 roll down where you're able to hit a crazy amount of stabilization points with big units. In this case, it's just a Yone 2. Well itemized, yes, but will it be enough to actually win out all these fights throughout stage 4 and stay at a healthy spot?
I mean, we'll probably see him, he will probably still go for the 4-1 roll down, but we'll probably stay on level 7 here. But now, with the attack speed generation coming through here, the Swift Shot Emblem gives you so much attack speed, even just with 2 Swift Shot in. It really helps amplify the rage rate. Look at the Yone go here. Sure, it takes a while to get through all the Guardian shields, but when it's just a Guardian that's alive, nothing can really touch it. And this is kind of why you're not going to be expected to see a lot of healing options on Yone in general. Much prefer to get them from the augments because Yone has such a quick way, and he's so reliant on getting all of these attack speed items to really start elevating his damage.
It's really important in TFT to understand how different things synergize with each other. And as you're mentioning, the attack range essentially acts as healing and shielding and survivability because you're not actually putting yourself into danger.
Unless that's Rengar.
As is Rengar, because in melee range there are many dangers in this current set. You know, a Yone walking to Yu, getting slapped a few times, getting thrown around, and getting killed off very quickly. So it's, as you're mentioning, going to be very, very relevant, the Swift Shot Emblem and the RFC, to have maximum attack range and able to stay, as we're seeing here, in the backline as if he was a Swift Shot unit, able to dish out damage without really being touched.
Yeah, and again, he only has 5 copies of Yone, so this roll down is going to be relatively intensive. You can see somewhat how stable he actually is just with the 2-star Yone now, with the Ascension coming through from Kenobi here.
Can the burst come through on the Yone, on the Volibear? The battle of stage 3 carries. It looks like Yone is just barely going to be able to do it, but the Inner Flame from the Karma, despite the nerfs, Karma saying, I'm still here, I can still do something, I can still kill units.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost him a streak, but it's a life that you would probably rather would have liked to maintain. And again, that's just kind of tough luck at the end of the day. That's just how it is. But Yone 2 now found on the bench, so 3 more copies of Yasuo's cousin. And then we are chilling for Lelouch. But that is no guarantee that that's going to be the case.
There's a chance for a 4-warrior power spike as well once you go into that level 7. But as you mentioned, I think you want to utilize that gold first to try and get Yone 3 to guarantee the better odds at 40% at level 6. And once you have that little side quest completed, then you're able to think about going 7, going 8, and trying to slot in those key units like maybe a Bard or a Yasuo later on to try and finalize this comp.
Yeah, so now decisions have to be made, right? Because you kind of not really, sit here and wait, because you could make Protector's Vow, you could make, Redemption, you could also make a, Shroud plus blue buff, you can make Sunfire Cape blue buff.
There's 2.
A lot of decisions here.
We're looking for just one more Yone, and there it is. Lelouch going to hit the spike that should hopefully put him in a good spot for this stage 4. 36 HP, I think it's a necessity at this point. You cannot really lose any big fights here.
Has the option, if you wanted to sell bench level for that Pantheon, but it's not going to take that says, I'm strong enough, I can wait and push the level to the fact that when I'm not leveling, off interval.
We have a chance to build a Sunfire Cape as well, but I mean, with a Pantheon, anti-heal, sometimes you still need that Sunfire because it's just a little bit more consistent in terms of guaranteeing anti-heal on some important units. We're seeing there from Crescent had the Xiaoyu, has the Jade board built, and we're seeing why it's so important for a unit to have that attack range. The Xiaoyu was not able to, at any point in this fight, target onto the Yone and kill it off before it was able to deal out all this damage.
Yeah, and every bit of incremental damage is going to help this composition, so just like starting to itemize that Olaf is going to be a nice little help. So you see here, the power of the 2-star Volibear for Kenobi. He started at that 80 gold threshold, which is the max for the gem. But David,
we thought it would be a nice, boring, high competitive game of silver augments, but Mortdog said no.
There are options, right?
Don't do it. Don't even mention Golden Egg.
There's the golden egg.
This is not you need. You got the wrong French player.
He's 82 HP, David.
Celestial Blessing.
HP
Thank you, Kenobi, for playing it safe, for not taking any big risks. We saw you need in the last Golden Dispatch, in the last regional finals, actually, here in Alicante. We're casting from here. Did end up picking that Golden Egg. He is in this lobby as well, but Kenobi is not that risk that risky player. He's trying to play it safe, pick Celestial Blessing instead.
I mean, to be fair, I can understand it and I respect it, right? This is a much safer catch-all play, but especially when you have first aid kit, Celestial Blessing free is just so good, right? So to what I was talking about with Ging combat augments, there is augment selection. For the Hunt, Sonic Implants, and Stand United free. Very much textbook Jing, and very much textbook just being able to do whatever you want. You can see the Graves being flexed right now at the right bottom of your screen. That is just the case here. A little bit of Aoshin Salt spiced in there.
So that being said, this board is a little bit all over the place, especially considering you're at 11 gold, level 8, very far from level 9, very far from that massive dragon board. Xiao Yu trying to do her best against the Graves, but not quite enough. And just in case some extra help was needed, Aoshin does end up casting that Lightning Rain, and just these two units are able to carry. And this is what TFT is at a very high level. Sometimes in Diamond and Masters, you see everyone just following the guides, saying, okay, level 7, this unit, level 8, this unit. But this is what high-level TFT looks like. A mix and match of a good front line with the Idis and a good back line with 2 damage carries, one with the AD items, one with the AP items, or I guess just a rod in this case for Aoshin. Just trying to do what they can to win these fights.
Yeah, and again, like you'll see, this could just be transitioned into the Graves Nyla setup, right? You also have the Nyla or Nila, whatever line you fall upon, on the bench as a pair. So
Matelas doing it again. He said, hey, if I win a game with Lux reroll, why not try and go for it again?
It's not necessarily going to be the Lagoon aspect instead, right? We kind of look at that earlier on here. This board is just going to absolutely get rolled over now, though, just because of the nature of the Yone free spike from Lelouch, who has gone level 7, who we're talking about. Also picked up that Cursed Crown, kind of alleviating the issue of being lower level in the rest of the lobby.
Big burst, able to save some HP there from those units that ended up dying. But as you mentioned, the front line a little bit too weak for Matelas to really stall out for that Soam to really get things going. And too much damage coming in from Lelouch with that Yone 3. We're seeing here the Volibear still able to do a lot in stage 4. Usually this is the point in time where he gets taken out and maybe a Xiao Yu comes in with these items instead. But it looks like the Volibear is still able to do a lot. We talked about this unit being one of the key units in this tournament for the early game, but it looks like even for stage 4.
It's just such a good unit in terms of the fact that they can, when you are in a position like this, you have strong augments, augment pairs that are just really insane. Just holding on to that for a while, there is going to be a spatula here open, and that could be Lelouch, right? Again, open bow potentially being picked up on the Dragon. Again, trying to get that vertical Swiftfoot in there. It's not necessarily a high priority, but when you don't really need anything else, getting that Swiftfoot emblem on
not just that
could be good.
But Guardian Emblem as well. I played a lot of Olaf a few patches ago. I think, at least for my level, I mastered the combo in some ways, and Guardian Emblem on Pantheon when you had Braum online felt very good. Guardian Emblem now in the comp that's being played here with 2 Guardians already online must feel even better. So we'll see if Lelouch is going to think about that Pantheon with the Guardian Emblem, but maybe it could just be that Swiftshot Emblem instead, trying to give even more of a boost in attack speed to Yone. Like, how much attack speed can you possibly get, Weeda? I mean, you have Rage Blade, you have Swiftshot Emblem, you have the RFC as well. Give me more.
Yeah, I was looking at like whether a Mage Emblem could even be possible. You go level 8, and you pick up. He has a Curse Crown, so he's gonna be able to fit 10 units here in a second. But you go level 8, you find a Zoe, you jam a random Mage Emblem onto someone, and all of a sudden you have free Mage, and that's going to be a very nice way to elevate the comp, just like with the Olaf one.
We'll see a very good test here for Lelouch. Looks incredibly strong, but is facing off against Darkest, one of the strongest players, well, the strongest players right now in terms of the HP standings for this lobby, for the last lobby as well, actually. But we'll see if the Yone can do enough, just slashing away the Way of the Hunter, coming in for the Yone, and it looks like these front lines just cannot stand up to the sheer amount of damage that mostly just this Yone is able to dish out at this point in the game. And even in stage 3, once you hit that level 3 or that 3-star power spike, every single player had to start thinking, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah, indeed. But again, it's also worth noting that the board from Darkest we just saw had Nasus carrying the AP item still, right? So a board that is very much stuck in the transitional
Chinese tech,
phase.
Weeda, what do you mean? You've never played Nasus AP carry? Come on.
I mean, I have, but I've done that in ARAM, David.
Oh, that's a different setting altogether.
It's a different game even, right? So look at the board here for Darkest. We're talking about it. You're talking about what we see there, the Nasus on the screen right there down to your right side.
And this is a comp that maybe Darkest is embarrassed to have on the board right now for stage 4, but they're not really embarrassed about the amount of gold they have. This is going to be a clear-cut fast 9. Gonna probably, with the HP they have as well, going to be able to buffer out a few more losses and guarantee you're able to go 9 with like maybe 40 or 50 gold.
He's 8 Guardian as well.
Oh, this is not quite a bodyguard, but I think it's somewhere along the way.
we found the unicorn, David. It has been found, right? But it's such a strong board, just times of staying alive. And again, you pair that with an easily big gem when you're above 80 gold. That is a huge amount of damage increase. And if you can ensure that the Yasuo just stays alive for long enough and is not being focused down by a 2-star Xiaoyu, well, then that might just be right about enough. But the damage in and of itself might... Oh, it's running out. It's fine. It's good. Egg Crescent.
And Darkness is in such a spot to win this lobby. When you're sacking rounds on 80 gold and you're still winning, that is bad news for all other competitors. We're seeing what the items are going to be picked up here from Darkness. Looks like, yeah, he's happy with what he's being shown. Again, having a Hand of Justice, Thieves' Gloves, and the Protector's Vow. Immediate level 9, so I thought might wait to get a little bit more gold to roll down with, but already finds the Terra, finds the Xiaoyu, finds the Acel in the back as well, and the Dragon transition is starting now.
Yeah, again, it's worth noting, sure, you want as much gold as possible to really help the needlessly big gem give you a lot of damage, but when you have this amount of HP, you can kind of start your transition early and then rebuild that gold buffer that you have because, well, look at it. Has the 2-star, Ida's already online, so the primary frontliner is found. 2-star Rakan is going to stay in. Even just right now, it just has 5 Guardian. Well, again, it's not perfect, but again, it is going to help the Terra stay online. They are going to be a good secondary damage option. That's kind of what you can do with Terra. If you have a BT, for example, like this, Terra can actually be a pretty solid secondary option.
We'll see who ends up taking the Thieves' Gloves. I thought it would be Xiaoyu, but Xiaoyu gets the Guardian emblem instead. I guess it could just be the Rakan, or maybe just gonna wait. Just gonna wait and see what to slam it on. But it looks like it was finally slammed onto Rakan. And that's an interesting item combination for the Rakan there, of course. In this case, now fighting up against Unid's Rengar board. And this is one of those fights that, you know, despite how strong you are, it's going to be hard to deal with the Dragon board. That being said, oh no, I was about to say, yeah. Oh, there it is, okay. The kill comes in, and I think it should be enough for this Rengar, but Idas, and especially this Earthquake from the Terra, still deals a lot of damage. For a tank, Terra can be very, very dangerous still for some of these units, especially with the Bloodthirster, with the Giant Slayer, and up against this Swain. Yeah, looks like it's too much to handle.
It's also a Swain one, right? Worth noting here for Unid. Again, that is going to be the next big fixation point here for our French player. Is going to figure out if that is in fact going to be the option. And Crescent is going to be going out here, taking an 8th, so Kenobi and Unid at least will be able to elevate themselves a little bit further forward in the standings here before the reseed coming through just a second. But Soraka in the shop is not necessarily easy to kind of flex in right now because you do want to have that Mystic and the Guardian of the Rakan. Your only real ways to elevate this board, I believe, is just going to be, you know, upgrading your dragons.
And I'm just now noticing, Wida, Darkest has picked 2 of the same augments 2 games in a row. It's not a very likely thing to happen, but Darkest already showing very clearly how much they value any kind of Guardian augment, and how Guardian is incredibly strong now as a frontline possibility for many of these Dragon boards, and even just a transitional board in Stage 4 as well. But we're seeing here Pantheon trying to do their best. The Earthquakes continue to come through. Pantheon is now almost being taken down, and it's down to Xiaoyu with a little bit of a suboptimal itemization there. The Runans and the RFC not quite perfect. Kenobi takes another big hit down to 26 HP. Crescent was already taken down a few fights ago, and Ging, despite the good showing in Game 1, is now also with 1 foot out the door.
See here from Unid. I mean, this is just going to be a win for the Swain, I would assume. No, it's going to be another tie. I feel like we've not really seen a lot of ties, and now we've just, all of a sudden, we've seen 2 ties come through on our screens.
We're being
recently.
spoiled, Wida. I don't know if you noticed, but in 2 games, we've seen pretty much everything. We've seen a Sohm now as well. We've seen the Swift Shot emblem on the Yone. We see Curse Crown. I mean, all the things that you could really ask for coming into this tournament already. In just 2 games, we're seeing a whole lot of variety in the ways many of these players are trying to tackle this late game.
And as I was talking about, Nyla has been put onto the board here. A lot of power is going to come from this Stand United, but again, has not necessarily been enough here. The comp is somewhat struggling to fully get online, and now Unit has found that Swain, the Swain 2, which was a big lacking thing before.
The Seraphine already going to be taken down immediately off of this Rengar. The Rakan also next. Zeri taken down immediately, and now it's all about this Graves. If it's able to take down these Rengars before, they're able to deal a whole lot of damage. It might be enough, but in this case, I think Graves is not going to quite do it. The tank gets taken down. The healing is coming in off the Thrill of the Hunt, but it's only a silver augment. It's not that much healing, and I think Rengar and Swain will be able to do enough damage. That's going to be the case. Getting taken down to 5 HP. Kenobi, someone that did not do so hot in Game 1, and now also in danger of being taken down bot 4.
Yeah, again, I think that's kind of to his own expectations, as bad as it sounds. I was talking about that interview previously, that he's not necessarily... He's not necessarily too confident in his own play on the set in general. It's not a pad-specific thing, it's a set-specific thing. And that's kind of what we are going to be seeing more and more as the game continues to elevate itself, become, better, newer sets going to be introduced. We might see players that, there's just one set they don't vibe with. And again, full Dragon Carousel, David.
Definitely going to favor players like Darkest, who are able to maybe have full items already on something like an Acel, and then just have that Ionic Spark pop off and not worry too much about the less than optimal itemization there on the Carousel unit. And there we see it, yeah, Acel 2 for Darkest. The Caster Blessing comes in. You're welcome, Darkest. I hit you with a Caster Curse in Stage 2, and now the Caster Blessing in Stage 5. Love to see it. What you don't love to see, though, is the spot Ging is in, because as you mentioned before, we're kind of with a mix of units here, which is great in Stage 4, but usually you want these players to try and find more clear direction going to Stage 5. It's not a bad board, but it's not optimal. It's not, what you're trying to build towards in this late game.
Probably the worst board to hit, though, right? This super stacked board with a dropped-in last-second Zephyr from Lelouch.
This Yone, though, immediately takes down the Nale, which is a secondary carry here for the Ging. Graves all by himself now once again, and there's just so much damage coming from Lelouch. He has not lost ever since he got the Curse Crown, ever since he got the Yone 3 at the very start of Stage 4, from round 4-1 all the way win streak, still at 36 HP. And Matelas here now, the last bit of burst, is able to take down the Siphon and also able to take down Kenobi, who isn't really able, I guess he improved a little bit from a 7th to a 6th, but still not where you want to be as a competitor in this day 1.
Absolutely not, right. And again, since we are not resetting going into tomorrow, having a really poor day 1 can be a big issue for you. It is worth noting that there are going to be specific breakpoints when it comes to prize money that they are going to be continuously playing for here. Full item will be coming through from Matela in just a short second. That new recruit has really been able to help him out, just getting that extra unit on the board so you don't have to necessarily be too afraid of getting 7 mages and 6 recruit in, saving themselves a spatula potentially. So, good position to be in here for the Swiss player who has really showcased strong, has really good stats across the entire GSC circuit.
You need Raiko and Matela fighting for those last 2 spots in the top 4. I think Lelouch and Darkest are, by far and away the strongest players in this lobby, but we'll see how this fight pans out. Matela is also close to taking a bit of a power spike with 1 extra item, as you mentioned. The Sohm still doing so much, still has not been jumped on by the Rengars. And as I say it, as always, the Caster Curse comes in, the Sohm gets deleted, and I think Rengar can definitely clean up here with Swain able to continue fighting for his life. Morello coming through, stopping any kind of healing, or at least denying some healing on that Vlad from the transfusion. And Silas is a good unit, but not quite good enough to take down and fully itemize Swain and Rengar. And that will be a big hit for Matela, down to 15, Raiko down to 11, and you need down to 9 HP.
That was a ghost board as well.
It was, yeah.
That is something that's worth talking about here. To be fair, let's talk about Darkest and Lelouch. They're pretty strong right now. But again, that was Uni's board. That was not, Darkest or Lelouch's like really strong boards at the top of the standings right now. So in a head-to-head situation, that 4 extra HP breakpoint might be really important to look out for.
Item here not really ideal in this case for Unit. Already has the Morello for the anti-heal, so this is TFT. Sometimes some variance is involved. You get less than optimal items off of the PvE rounds, and in this case, you can't roll for this one. This is not Treasure Dragon. This is already set in stone. So unfortunate news for Unit, someone that is currently fighting for their life, trying to roll down 2 Rengars off of that Rengar 3 power spike. Finds 1, only looking for 1 more now. Can he do it? Has some gold to work with, can sell off maybe that Graves, maybe that Olaf as well. Will do it, but it looks like it's not quite going to be the possibility here. Has 1 more roll on the Rel, but just can't quite find it. Very unfortunate.
That is definitely going to be an unfortunate situation going on here for Uni, but it's not like he does have matchups that he can win and will potentially get another roll. This one, however,
this is
probably not one of them.
This is not one of them. Lelouch has still not lost the fight. Rengar is being thrown in the air, so even worse to start this fight off. And Yone, I mean, the Swain is meant to be the main carry, but already gets deleted. And this is the power of 3-star Yone with Swift Shot Emblem, with a perfect setup, and of Curse Crown as well. Unid gets taken down in 5th, an improvement on the game 1, but I think not quite where any of these French players want to be.
Yeah, and very poetically speaking here, Raiko takes out Unit's Ghost to stay alive, so that is, kind of shows where it would have ended most likely. As Matala is also going to be taking out the Lagoon board to a top 4, pretty much going to be the average thing to expect at this point in time. When you have, so again, talk about a little bit about prismatic options, right? The new recruit, the augment that was Matala's final augment here, tends to have like an average placement about like, you know, 4 to 5th. It is probably the most average augment in the game.
I think once you got into that stage 4-2 where you're able to get that prismatic augment, it says a lot about, hey, I can go for a first if you really get that high roll, if you really get that, you know, crazy setup like the Curse Crown for Lelouch, or I can just play for a fourth, say, I'm going to cut my losses here, I'm going to try my best to hit my spike sooner and try and just get a top 4 like Matelas has done, especially considering his result in the last game, in game 1. This is where you want to be, just a good, consistent performance throughout these first 2 games. Siphon jumps onto the Acel, but the Acel healing comes through. Darkest is trying to stay dominant in these last few fights of game 2. Siphon now runs away from Acel. Acel survived test number 1, which is that rampage coming in, that big chomp coming in from the Siphon, and the Black Hole takes down Siphon in the end. That will be a big win for Darkest. The full Dragon board, you're not surprised. I think we said it a few fights ago. These are by far and away the 2 strongest players in this lobby, and Darkest is sitting on 77 gold while being level 9.
Yeah, and again, his board is upgraded. Rolling with 3 stars is a bit of a weird situation to look out for, right? I think that is something that we need to keep an eye out for here, as we do see Darkest. It's going to be the right side board, Lelouch the left side board. Because, like, again, he just needs to stay above 80 gold, and then he's going to have that needlessly big gem. Again, the 6 Guardian Spike is also going to be really big, but these final fights here, this 7 placement could be absolutely everything.
Not just that, but also the fact that you're trying to accrue this gold to hit something that can beat a Yone 3 with Curse Crown, with Fishshot Emblem. That's probably going to be a 3-star dragon, to be honest. So Darkest trying to play as greedy as possible. Going to see if he loses this fight or not. This is the big test. Lelouch on a 12-win streak, Darkest on a 3-win streak. Acel still alive. Yone not quite able to reach there just yet. The Black Hole's coming in, going to clear out most of this left side of the board, but Yone's still healthy. Olaf's still healthy. Fishshot Emblem on both of these carries. The dual threat might be too much for this Acel to deal with. The Black Holes come through, but not quite early enough, and that will be a loss for Darkest. Has 44 HP to work with. When do you think the roll down comes through, Wida?
It's a bit more, right? Because again, I was talking about the gold has to be there to get the bonus effect, but with these fights and the way they've been going, it's not like the gem has been triggering, right? The frontline unit that carries the gem has just been absolutely decimated. So it could be now, it could be a 7-1 situation with 44 HP. You have a lot of time to sit and almost slow roll, just sit and wait and pick up the pairs, but it does seem like a bit of rolling is going to be coming through right now.
I think the only possibility is going to be a 3-star 4 cost or a 3-star 5 cost. With this Xiaoyu, the Acel, we're seeing Aoshin being held there as well. Maybe Lightning Rain going to be a little bit more effective. Again, that damage online a little bit sooner than the Black Hole from the Acel. But as you mentioned, right now the gold is being held for that Shimmer Skill buff, for that mini Ascension to come in. At some point, if Darkest says this is not working, that they have to really shift into that mode where I have to hit that 3-star dragon instead. 4 copies of Acel, you're still very far away, but maybe there is going to be a chance. We're going to see now as the Xiaoyu is getting targeted first. The tanks are still healthy. The golden skills from Ida's helping that shield come through onto the dragon. Acel still very much left untouched on that right side of the field. But that Acel damage is so big. Might it be enough? In this case, I think it might. Yone can't quite do it in time. I'm going to jinx it, am I not? Oh, the Black Hole comes through just in time. Yone gets taken down, and Darkest able to win a fight. Able to maybe say, I don't have to go with 3-star dragon. I can just stay here.
And the big difference from the first fight we saw to this fight, the Xiaoyu stayed alive. And that meant that the Ascension damage came through, almost doubling the damage that is going to be produced by this Acel. Right, and these small increments of damage, just like picks off like 1, 2, 3, 4 units at a time, is so big.
We're seeing the Zephyr as well. The positioning might be very relevant here for the main tank to not get thrown into the air on the side of Darkest. No gold for Lelouch. So really, that's his board. There's no more spikes to be had. It's all about positioning now for him. And for Darkest, still has 2 different paths to go down, as you mentioned, with both the gold and the trying to use that gold to 3-star instead. But won the last fight. We'll see if he can do it again. Yone still staying healthy. Hasn't quite been touched by Black Hole from that Acel just yet. And as you mentioned, the Ascension about to kick in. 1 second left, and that will be the time for the extra damage to come through. Xiaoyu still left alive, but now Yone is onto Acel a little bit earlier than the last fight. It's going to be a close one. Oh, no! The Acel gets taken down just in time.
And a big thing here was that the Black Hole came through 1 second too soon, actually, for the trigger, the Ascension effect. of the needlessly big gem to take effect, and that had a big impact because you saw like how it wasn't able to fully kill these frontliners. And as well, you're talking about no goal for Lelouch, but he is going to be holding on to those Aurelion Souls on the bench if he finds them, because again, you were talking about it. It could be a very real opportunity to find that Ace Soul, or Ace Soul 3 even, to really, be the big deciding factor for Darkest.
It's the switch to Aoshin instead as maybe the premier AP Dragon carry in this case. Aesol maybe not quite going to do it. We saw the chance for more Aesol copies being held there, but in the end, I think it will be a switch up here for Darkest, at least to keep that option open, or have both in as well is also a possibility if you think you need that extra bit of damage, especially if you're able to get that snipe on Yone from Lightning Rain if that Aoshin casts first and is able to hit that Yone.
It's not about keeping the gem alive, right? Because you need to ensure that the gem stays in play, doesn't get focused down immediately as well. That is going to be something that you need to keep an eye out for here as well. Has to juggle around all of these items here. He's going to say, you know what, I don't need to have the Mogul's Mail. We are just going to see.
The Yasuo has been moved to the backline, trying to hit either the Aesol or the Aoshin. Will succeed at hitting the Aoshin in this case, but maybe that's a good thing. Keeping it nice and healthy for that needlessly big gem to proc, delay Lightning Rain a little bit. Aesol's taken down so quickly, and that's just completely different fight that we've seen in these last 2 rounds.
One more fight here. 7-2, 2 HP on Darkest to try to figure out if he can take down Lelouch here. Again, we're talking about Lelouch, one of the players to look out for this week, and just in general has been a menace on ladder all throughout the set. Well, that's 7-0, 7-5, you name it, he's been there. He was in the final lobby last time around as well. Could have had that shot at going to Worlds, even LCQ didn't make it. He's back. He has a lot to revenge here, but again, look at the gold now. 90 gold for Darkest means that this is going to be one hell of a juiced gem.
The Idas and the Terra trying to stall out, trying to buy time, but once again, Aoshin gets put up into the air. The Rabadon now placed on the Aoshin instead of the needlessly big gem. Bard instead trying with a Tempered Fate to buy more time, but stops the ult from the Aesol. Could have helped with that synergy with the Bartle. Instead, Yone just decimates everything. Dark is taken down. Lelouch has a great comeback in this game too.